Maddox race. He was absolutely perfect, even though he was so tiny, and he looked identical to his older brother.
Welcome to Still a Part of Us, a place where moms and dads share the story of their child who was stillborn or who died in infancy. I'm Winter.
And I'm Lee. We are grateful you joined us today. Please note that this is a story of loss and has triggers.
Thanks to our lost parents who are willing to be vulnerable and share their children with us.
If you're listening to this podcast, just know that on our YouTube channel there are pictures and videos that are related to the stories that are being shared.
Subscribe and share it with a friend that might need it, and tell them to subscribe. Why? Because people need to know that even though our babies are no longer with us, they're still a part of us. Welcome to Still a Part of Us. I'm just really excited. As you can tell, that this is a little bit of a different setup for us today. And I am here with Victoria in person and in real life. It's so fun to meet other lost moms that are kind of local in our area. So welcome to Still a Part of Us. And Victoria, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on and coming to us and visiting us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
We're excited to talk about Maddox. And so can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what your family looks like?
Yeah, so we live in Utah. I'm originally born and raised in Canada, in British Columbia.
Okay.
Yeah, so I met my husband almost 8 years ago because he was playing junior hockey in Washington State. So that's how we met.
Okay.
But he's originally from here. So a few years into us dating, we got engaged and I ended up moving down here. So I've been here since 2019.
Okay.
And we have a 4-year-old boy named Gray. And then we just had another little baby girl, and her name is Sophie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And which is, it is a real privilege that you are willing to be with us today with such a little one.
Yeah.
And can you, at the time of our recording today, how long ago was Maddox born?
He was born about almost a year and a half ago. So it was March of 2024.
Okay, so it has not been very long. Really, I mean, really, when all is said and done, it's not very long at all. So, okay, so you guys got married, and how quickly did you get pregnant with Gray? Like, was that
It was about a little over a year of being married.
okay.
Then we got pregnant with him.
Okay?
Yeah.
And you, it sounds like having a family was in the plan. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. We wanted kids, and we got married during COVID. So our whole wedding plans kind of got mixed up in that because all of my family lives in Canada.
Yeah.
So, and I also had to go through the immigration process down here as well. So when we just kind of had a small, like essentially elopement type wedding. And then the plan was to have an actual wedding ceremony later on once all the restrictions were lifted.
Right.
And then they weren't getting lifted, and we were stuck in our houses. So I knew I wanted to have kids younger. So we started talking about having kids. So we decided that we may as well start our family because we didn't know what the world was going to look like, and we didn't want to wait, 5 years down the road to start. So we decided to have him, and his pregnancy was great. Yeah. I felt so lucky with him. Everything about his pregnancy and delivery was so positive.
Okay.
So
that was okay. And anything during the pandemic that is rough. And good job you guys for getting through that. And that was probably maybe a little nice being pregnant at that time, just not having to deal with too many people visiting and too many germs getting thrown around.
It was nice in like that aspect that we didn't have to worry about, like him getting sick, being really little. But the thing that was really difficult was my parents didn't get to meet him until he was almost 3 months old.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, because they weren't able to
come down.
Yeah.
Because Canada had a lot of restrictions about travel, I think.
And the borders were closed.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so that
it was hard, but I also didn't know any different because he was my first baby.
Right.
So
you're like, this is what it was. Yeah. Okay, so then you are thinking, okay, it sounds like family is a big deal. So you wanted, after having that pandemic is starting to wane a bit, was Maddox, was he planned? Was that,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So we lived in a townhouse when we had our oldest, and we knew that before we wanted to have more kids, that we needed to move into a bigger home. So once we were finally ready to move and found a house, we moved, got settled, and then we kind of started snowballing the idea of wanting to have more. I didn't feel quite ready yet. They had Maddox been born in July of 2024 when he was due, him and Gray would have been just over 3 years apart.
Okay.
So I feel like that was a fairly, normal age gap, but in Utah, that's also a little bit longer for people to wait. But I was not ready to have another baby until him. So right before I got pregnant with him, I had a miscarriage. Oh. So I had an early miscarriage, and then 2 months later, I got pregnant with him. And we were so excited because he was planned, but also there's just so much fear that comes with after having a loss at any stage. So when we went into our first doctor's appointment, we saw that there was a heartbeat. We were like, okay, like everything's good. And then it felt like Gray's pregnancy, and like you just don't think anything's going to happen. Yeah. But we waited the 12 weeks before we decided to tell our families. We actually told my husband's side of the family on Christmas Day.
Oh, really?
That we were pregnant with him. Oh. Yeah. So I was out of my first trimester, and so we waited a little while because I just felt like I needed more time with Gray until I was ready to have another baby again and share my time. But yeah, he was planned, and we were so excited.
Awesome. Yeah. That's so fun. And how were you feeling? Like, were you feeling sick or anything like that?
Nothing more than your average first trimester symptoms.
Okay. So a little bit of morning sickness.
Bit. Never actually got like sick. I was the same way with my oldest, like nauseous, but never got sick. Okay. And that was great. And then as soon as I was out of that first trimester, I like turned a corner. I had my energy back. Definitely not as much as I did when I was pregnant with my oldest, because then I had a toddler.
Yes, I was about to say you added a toddler in the case. That is a different story.
But yeah, no, I felt pretty good, which I was really grateful for.
That is great. Yeah. So then you guys told his side of the family on Christmas, which I'm sure was super exciting.
Yeah, it was.
Do they have, so he's from here, from Utah, and so so this would be a what grandson or
Maddox would have been the second grandson, the third grandchild on my husband's side. Okay. My side, it's just my kids. I just have one sister. She doesn't have any kids yet. Okay. Yeah. So it would have been my parents' second grandkid.
Yeah. So super exciting for both sides of the family. Yeah. Really? Okay. Yeah. That's so fun. Did you guys do any of you can do some of the genetic testing kind of early on, 10-ish weeks, 12 weeks. Did you guys opt to do any of that?
Yeah, so we did with both Gray and Maddox. Both came back low risk, nothing concerning. Good. We found out what we were having with both of them. My husband and I just found out intimately by ourselves and then told our families. But yeah, everything came back low risk. All of my ultrasounds were looking low risk. My miscarriage, that I had gone in for my first appointment, and there was no heartbeat, and I was measuring behind. So most likely
something that
from the very beginning there was no viability there. So
so everything was looking okay. You had gone in for that first appointment, saw Maddox's heartbeat. That was good. And then I know that for a short time that it's not as often that you go in and see the doctor. Would you remember how often you were seeing?
Yeah, so I went in quite often. So I stayed at the same OB office with all of my kids, but I ended up having a different OB for my miscarriage pregnancy and Maddox and my daughter. Oh. They were all the same, but they were different from my oldest. Okay. And she is like the best person I think I could have had going through all this. So, like she went through everything with us. But because of my miscarriage, I had contacted my doctor's office after I had gone in for my blood work to confirm the pregnancy if they would see me before the 8 weeks that they typically would bring you in for. Yes. Okay. And she was all for it. She was like, absolutely, like I totally understand. So I went in I want to say around like maybe like 7-ish weeks for my first ultrasound with Maddox. And then I went in like about every 2 to 3-ish weeks with him.
Okay.
Until I was out of my first trimester.
Great.
Because she asked if I was feeling, better, and the percentage rate of anything happening goes down drastically once you're out of the first trimester, especially with like your genetic testing coming back low risk. So after I got out of that first trimester, I felt quite a bit of like weight lifted off of my shoulders, and I didn't feel like I needed to go in like way more
as
often.
Okay.
So I started the every 4 weeks.
That is really neat that your doctor listened to you about your kind of just your concerns. And I think we know the same doctor. I think, I think she's just a local, one of the local physicians here at the university. So and she's awesome.
So she wasn't my OB.
Oh, okay.
But she was just a part of my high risk team.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. So I had a different OB throughout all of that, but she was also great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's like it's great just getting good care and somebody that will listen and understand the kind of concerns you have throughout. Yeah. Okay, so then things are going well. And then when did you guys tell your parents?
So we actually did tell my parents quite a bit earlier. They had come down to visit in like November-ish of that year.
Oh, good.
So originally we were going to wait until I was out of the first trimester to tell everyone, but I didn't see any other opportunity that I would ever get to tell my side of the family in person. So I hadn't even had my first doctor's appointment yet. And I told my parents, and I contemplated going back and forth whether I wanted to tell them or wait. And my sister, actually, she was like, well, if something is going to happen again, like, wouldn't you want them down there with you to help you get through it? And I was like, yeah, you're right. So I actually had my first doctor's appointment while my parents were here. So they stayed at home with my oldest.
Oh.
And the appointment went well. So I got to come back and show them the ultrasound. And they were just so excited that everything was looking great.
Good. Yay.
Yeah.
Those are always nice, having those periods of time when you can just share your excitement and everything. And when you and your husband found out that you were having another boy, how'd you guys feel about that?
We were excited. I was convinced he was a girl, though.
You were?
Yeah, my intuition was saying girl. With my oldest, my intuition said boy. You couldn't change my mind or tell me any different that I was not having a boy. Like, I felt so strongly that he was a boy. So when my intuition was telling me that, like, I thought I was having a girl, I was like, well, it can't be wrong. Like, it wasn't wrong the first time. So when we found out, we were on the phone with each other. We got the results in through the company that sends it. Yeah. And I got the notification, and with our oldest, we found out together and filmed our reaction. And this time I was like, oh, I don't know if I can wait till the end of the workday. So we were just on the phone with each other, and we both started watching the little video that they make at the same time.
Oh. And
at the end, it tells you if you're having a boy or a girl. And I think his video may have been a tiny bit ahead of mine. Oh. Because his reaction was he just kind of let out this laugh of like, yeah, I'm getting 2 boys. Like, this is awesome. And then I saw it and I was like, oh. But I was so excited because, like, I grew up with a sister, and to grow up with a sibling that's the same gender as you it's nice. Special. Yeah. And, you might have similar interest. And my sister and I are really close in age. But we were so excited about it, and just the fact that at that point we thought we were going to have another healthy baby to bring home. Yeah. And but my husband was so excited. I was as well, but I was like, wow, I was wrong. My intuition was wrong this time.
Yeah. It's always fun to find out. So did you guys start thinking of names at that time?
Yeah, I think I more so started to think of names with our oldest. I had his name picked out long before I ever met my husband. I was determined to use Gray as a name, hopefully for a boy, but I had always told myself if I never had a boy and I knew I was done having kids, that my last girl would be named Gray.
Okay.
And so
which would be a cool girl name.
Yeah.
Too. I think that would be awesome.
So his name was so easy. It just came to us. And luckily my husband was on board with it. But then when it came to Maddox, we had a hard time. I was looking everywhere for baby names. I like more unique names, but not, super out there. I just didn't want my kids to have multiple in their classes.
In their class, yeah. I agree.
That's how it was for me growing up. There was always another Victoria.
There was.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
you live in Canada.
Yeah.
So
Yes. And where I grew up is a place called Victoria.
Yes,
So.
exactly. So, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So we had a hard time. I was looking everywhere, and it wasn't until probably shortly before he passed away that we somewhat had a name solidified down. It got to a point where his name was going to be Mads. And I thought that was his name for a couple weeks. And then one day my husband was just like, no, I don't think that's it.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, okay. So we started thinking again, and I saw the name Maddox on like a TikTok baby name video. And I said it out loud, and I was like, oh, I kind of like that. But at the same time, did not think my husband was going to go for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said it to our oldest, and I had him repeat it. And when he repeated it at his, like 2-year-old self, it sounded a little odd. And I was like, I don't know. So I told my husband, and he kind of like didn't hate it. And I was like, okay.
That's always a good step.
Yeah. So then we kind of like sat on that name for a little while. It was never fully solidified. And then it didn't end up getting solidified until we were on our way home from the doctor's office after finding out that he had passed. That my husband, we were on the phone because we had drove separately to the hospital, that I was a mess, and I was like, we have to name him. Like, he's got to have a name. And my husband was just like, his name's Maddox. Like, that's it. And I was like, okay, okay, that's it.
Okay.
So that's how his name came.
So it evolved
about.
a bit, actually.
Yeah. Yes.
Mads is a cool name too.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a rad name.
Yeah. I love that name still. And the idea was that my husband liked the name Max for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I liked the name Mads. So when I saw Maddox, I was like, well, I could still call him Mads. My husband could call him Max.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah, that's so cute. Like, yeah, that really is like perfect.
Yeah.
Well, it's so exciting to be able to, celebrate your kids, and names are so fun. I just love how they come about. So. Yeah. Okay. So you're feeling really good. Second trimester.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably getting seen a little bit now. I mean, it's starting to get, what is it, once a month usually in the second trimester.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys do anything to celebrate him, another baby shower, a baby sprinkle, or anything like that?
No. So not yet. There were plans in place. Some of my girlfriends had put together a brunch that we were going to do for him. Because we knew we were having another boy, I still had everything from my oldest.
Right.
And my oldest was born in May. Maddox was going to be born in July. So all the stuff that I had from my oldest would have
translated generally. Yeah.
So we didn't need much. So, and I had expressed that. I was like, we really don't need a whole lot, but like, I would love to get together with you guys. So we were just going to do like diapers and wipes and just have brunch and hang out together and celebrate. I had a massive baby shower for my oldest. So like every baby deserves to be celebrated for sure, but I didn't feel like I needed another really big extra shower. Yeah. So we were going to do that, and that was planned for April. So it was coming up, but we didn't end up making it there. Yeah. So I ended up, when I found out that he had passed away, I had texted my girlfriend that was setting it all up and had sent out the invites, just basically being like, this is what happened. Like, can you let the other girls know that, we're not going to make the baby or the baby sprinkle or whatever. And so she handled all of that for me as far as relaying that information, which was great.
That is huge.
Yeah.
And we'll probably talk a little bit more about that. Yeah. Like, because that is huge when somebody can just be the news person, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so tell us how kind of things progress, or if there's anything that you wanted to kind of mention in that second trimester as things go on.
Yeah, so I had gotten what we all thought was like the common cold. My whole family did.
About what week was this?
Probably about, I think I was 14 weeks. And it was, it was around November, December time. So everybody's sick. It's just that time of the year. My husband was sick. My oldest was sick. Like his extended family was all sick. Like everyone around us had this cold that was going around. My husband and I both, we just were not getting better. I would wake up in the middle of the night because I was so congested that the only relief I would get was to get in the shower.
Yes.
And then when you're pregnant, there's very little you can take to help yourself.
And it drives me crazy.
Yeah. So I was miserable. And I think a little bit of my gut and intuition was telling me like, something's wrong. You should go see your doctor. So I initially had called my OB office just mentioning like, hey, I'm really sick. Like I feel something. Terrible. Yeah. Like there's got to be something we can do. And the nurse on the phone was like, well, that's not really something that, you come here for. You'd need to go either to like a walk-in or see like your general practitioner. So I was like, okay. So we had gone into the urgent care and we were seen by a doctor there, both my husband and I. They tested for COVID, they tested for strep, they tested for the flu, and it all came back negative. And so he basically was like, it's the common cold, you're going to get over it. Like, and I had mentioned to him, I was like, well, I'm 14 weeks pregnant. Like, is there anything I can do? And he was like, no, not really. So we left there. I did end up getting better, but it took so long.
I was going to like, how long did it stick around?
It was weeks. It was well into the new year.
Ah.
Yeah, it was because I remember we were at a New Year's Eve party with our friends, and I was just still so miserable. It's like it would start to get better, and then I would get hit again.
Yeah.
With like, whether it was the same thing or
maybe something different. Because I think I remember that season because it was bad for a lot of people.
Yeah, it was terrible. So I don't know if that played any part into why things happened the way that they did after that, but my gut tells me that is. But I went in for another doctor's appointment, just normal OB appointment. And I had started to feel better, and I had mentioned to my doctors, like, I've been really sick, like, does everything look okay? Like, what should I do, basically?
Let's just make sure everything is.
And she was just like, yeah, it's going around, and unfortunately when you're pregnant you can get hit with things a lot harder, and it's harder for our bodies to recover because our immune systems are already down, but just rest and you're gonna get better.
You're like, okay.
Yeah. So that, and then I did get better, and then we moved on, but then 2 months later Maddox's heart stopped beating. So and leading up to that, I, got over this cold. My husband got over it as well and was feeling great again. And then the weekend before we found out that he had passed away, I had excruciating back pain, like lower back pain.
Really?
Yeah. So I had actually gone in. This was in the beginning of March. So I'd gone in. It was a Thursday for it would have been like my 23-week appointment.
Okay. Oh, wait. I'm going to have you back up for 2 seconds.
Okay.
At 20 weeks, did you guys have your anatomy scan?
Yeah. Yeah. So
and did everything look okay there too? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we went in for our anatomy scan. And
your husband was able to be there too and everything? Okay. Good.
Yeah. He was with me. We did that. They checked all the measurements. He was on track. Like everything growth wise was good. Yeah. There was no indication at all that anything was about to become so wrong. So after that anatomy scan, especially, like, my anxiety had already let up quite a bit after I got out of my first trimester, but then especially after my anatomy scan, I was very naive and was like, okay, we're in the clear. Because with my oldest, he had an echogenic bowel show up on his 20-week scan. So he had a marker for cystic fibrosis. So there wasn't really anything that we could do until he was born to find out if that was the case. So with him, my 20-week scan went well, except for that. So I had a little bit of anxiety throughout the rest of my pregnancy with him. And then ultimately he was born and he was fine. And it was just, like,
It was a little,
it
some
meant
fluke
nothing.
Yeah, okay.
And so when we went to my anatomy scan with Maddox and everything was great and checked out, I was like, perfect.
Yay.
Like, he's great.
We're in the clear.
Yeah. And then, and then three weeks later, he passed away. And so was that weekend that I had. Okay, so I had my doctor's appointment at about 23 weeks. That was my appointment after my anatomy scan, where like my OB met with me to go over it all.
Everything. Okay.
Yeah, everything looked great. She did the Doppler on me on that appointment. She said everything sounded great. I look back on that appointment and feel like she was picking up more like of my placenta sounds than his heart tones, just because it did sound different.
Really?
Yeah, the placenta sounds more like a whoosh sound, and then the heart tones are obviously like a gallop. Yeah. And I remember being there, being like, that sounds different.
Yes.
But she's the professional. She's the doctor. I mean, I felt great. Like, she knows, and it picks up the numbers too, right? So I'm like, she knows what she's looking
and I was
for.
like, it's probably within the range of what babies' heartbeats are versus, okay.
Yeah, so I left that appointment. Everything was fine. And then I went into the weekend. I woke up Saturday morning with terrible back pain. And we had to take our trailer up to the dealership where we bought it from, so because it needed to have some warranty work done on it. And that drive was about like 30-ish minutes, and I was miserable because my lower back hurt so bad. Yeah. And I had back pain with my oldest. I had to go to massage therapy with him to have it helped, and that helped a ton. But it wasn't, I kind of wrote it off because I was like, well, I'm getting bigger. This is pregnancy. I had this symptom with my oldest. It just might be how I carry.
Okay.
I wasn't too concerned until it started to get so unbearable that I couldn't take a full deep breath because I couldn't straighten my
back out because you were
I was so hunched over. But I felt him moving all through the weekend. So again, I'm just like, it's pregnancy pains. Everything's fine. He's moving.
Was it regular movement? I mean, had you been kind of paying attention
at that point for how because you were my gestation was?
It wasn't super far along, so
so they were starting to get. He was starting to get more of a pattern. Throughout, like that I would pick up on throughout the day, like enough that I had gotten to the point. What sent me in to get checked was lack of fetal movement. So he was moving enough at that point that there was a pattern, and like if I hadn't felt him move, I was like, okay, something's going on. So yeah, horrible back pain. Like I'd get in the shower, just let the water run on my back. And in that moment over the weekend, like I did have the thought of like, maybe I should go into the hospital, but I didn't because again, like these are pregnancy symptoms. I had this with my oldest. And then also, which I get really upset with myself now about, is I didn't want to have to then deal with the costs of going into labor and delivery.
Yes.
Which with my daughter, I could have cared less.
Yeah.
Any type of thing that I ever felt was
we're
wrong,
going in.
I went in. And so I beat myself up about that because who knows if the outcome would have been different had I had gone in. Yeah. But the weekend was over. I was still having really bad back pain. I had gone into work and I was just working away. And I kind of clocked in of like, oh, I haven't felt him move today. So then I started like hyper fixating on if I was feeling any movement, pushing, my belly around, and still nothing. And I was like, you know what? Well, it's still early. And at that last doctor's appointment, my doctor, she was like, we're not going to worry about kick counts until your next appointment. So I had, the validation.
That idea of like,
it's still early. Like it's so inconsistent still. They're still so tiny. Like I might be feeling them and I'm just not paying attention. Yeah. So I started hyperfixating in on it and still hadn't felt anything. So the workday ended. I went home and I did all the things they tell you to do. Lay on your side, drink something cold, drink something sugary. I did all of that and still nothing. So then...
And was your back still hurting at that time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I kind of just we went on with our evening, and the next day was a day that I worked from home. And again, like I was clocking about like, am I feeling anything? Is that a kick? Like, what's going on? And so I ended up calling my OB office saying like, hey, I'd like to come in and get checked.
Okay.
I haven't felt my baby move, and I just want to make sure that everything's okay. So they ask, you know, all the questions like, have you done this, this?
Yeah.
And they're like, if you still, you know, haven't felt him move by this time, then yeah, absolutely come in and we'll check you. So I just continued on working, and it was the early afternoon, and I was like, something's wrong. So I'd called my husband and I told him that I hadn't felt him move, and that we were going to go in and get checked. I had my oldest with me. So we both were like, we're going to get to the parking lot and he's going to start going crazy.
Yeah.
And so we're driving there, and we get there, just my son and I, and we go up to my OB office. They get me all checked in. And the nurse that was on the phone with me was the one that pulled me back to do the Doppler read. And so she was asking me questions. She was a registered nurse. She was just new to my doctor's office. So she had another lady with her training her. And they took me back. They took my blood pressure. All of that was fine. And the girl that was training, she started to do the Doppler, and she was having a hard time. So I started panicking.
Yeah.
And they let her try for about 5 minutes. And I remember being so panicked and like, oh my gosh, what's going on? But also like, why are we letting the trainee, you know, do this on a mom that's coming in because she's worried that something's wrong?
Yeah.
And like prolong the anxiety. So they picked up my heartbeat because it was going so fast. Mm-hmm. So they put the heart rate monitor on me to make sure that they were finding just mine and not two different ones. So then finally they switched to the other lady, and she tried, and she also couldn't find anything. So she stopped and she was like, okay, we're going to go get one of the doctors that was here, because my OB only worked on Mondays and Thursdays, and this was a Tuesday. So they were about to leave, and I was like, well, are they going to do an ultrasound? Because in my head, I'm like, let's just look and see if we can see his heart beating. Yeah. And they were like, yeah, we're going to go see if there's a room available. So they left, they got a room available, and they took me in there, and the other OB at that office had come in and introduced herself, and she was so sweet. And she started the ultrasound, and I was the first one to say, I don't see his heart beating. And she just looked at me, and she put her hand on my leg, and she was like, I don't see it either. And I went so numb. Like, I've never experienced like that body feeling before. Yeah. I've never lost anyone in my family. Maddox was the first person close to me that I had to experience this with. And my son was with me. Yeah. And he was about to turn 3. And so he was just still so little, and he's my little buddy. Like, him and I just have such a like close and special bond. And I kind of forgot that he was there, but the other 2 nurses from when I had first got there were in the room with me, and the one had gone and sat down with him and was just holding him, because I wasn't like freaking out, but I was definitely like in distress. And I just kept saying like, why? And I was like, we just lost a baby in August. Like, basically, like, we already had our turn doing this. Like, why is this happening to us again? And I looked over at my son, and he just like, he never holds still, and he's always talking, and he was just so still staring at me like, Mom, what's wrong? Like, what's going on? And that broke my heart, because I was like, I need to be strong for you, and I don't want you to see me like this. But going there, I mean, I thought we were going to go in for a quick 5-minute appointment and be reassured that everything was fine, and we would be on our way. Had I known, obviously, that this was going to be the outcome, I would have never brought him with me. So I called my husband, and he came to the hospital, and he got there, and he doesn't show a ton of emotions, but he started crying, and like that broke me because I'm like, I've hardly ever seen you cry. And I just kept apologizing because in that first initial moment, like you feel like it's your fault.
Yeah, totally.
And he ended up calling his mom, and she came and got our oldest from the hospital. So he then was there with me. I made other phone calls. I called him to let him know so he could come to the hospital. And then the next person that I thought to call was my boss, which I'm really angry about now because of the way that things ended up turning out with that company. But I ended up calling her to let her know that I wasn't going to be into work the next day because I was going to have to deliver my son. And then I called my parents, and they obviously were in Canada, and they had just renewed their passports. So my dad's, by some miracle, had happened to arrive the Saturday prior. And my mom's was still in the mail waiting to get back to her. So I called my mom and I told her, you know, what was going on. And in that moment, like, obviously I had my husband there with me, but like, I feel like I'm really close with my parents. So I was just like, I want my mom, like, I want my dad. And so I called her and told her what had happened, and that I was like, I know you can't be here, but I want you here. So my dad, he worked about a couple hours away from where my parents live. So during the week, he lived up where his work was. And I think it was probably about like 4 o'clock at this point in the afternoon. And he found out, and he drove all the way from Up Island down and got on a flight that night and was here he was here before Maddox was born.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so, yeah, he drove. My sister found him a flight that somehow left that night. He had a really long layover, I think, in Calgary until his flight from Calgary to Salt Lake. But he got here, and then my father-in-law picked him up from the airport and took him to our house. And he just waited. We left him in my car, and he just waited until we told him that Maddox was born and ready for him to come to the hospital. But to back up, so when we were at the doctor's office, they obviously have to talk to you about what the next steps are. And I was like, so am I going to have to deliver him? You know, like, obviously, but at the same time, it's like, you don't know what's going to happen. And she was like, that's the safest way. So they gave me some options to come in for an induction the next day. So we went in at 5:30 the next morning, and leaving that hospital, my doctor's office and where I had all of my kids are at the same place. And leaving there still pregnant, but knowing that your baby's gone was it was just such a hard and weird thing to try and navigate. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. And that was really difficult. Going to sleep that night, I didn't sleep at all. But like, just, it's so weird and so hard. It is. And so unfair. Like, I was like, what do you mean I have to leave here right now knowing this news, but like, I'm still carrying him? So my in-laws brought my oldest home because I wanted him home. I was like, I need to cuddle with you and snuggle you and try to take my mind off of this, if like that's even possible. So we went to bed, but didn't actually go to bed. And we woke up super early the next morning. My father-in-law came and grabbed my oldest and took him back to his house. My husband and I headed to the hospital, and they started my induction. And our nurse that we had was like an angel sent to us, because her bedside manners, I don't know if she had done this before. I'm sure she had to, but for the terrible experience that we were going through, she made it as best as it could possibly be. And she was just, yeah, she was amazing. And we went in, they started my induction, and it came time to when I was ready for my epidural, and they came and he placed it, and it failed. So I ended up laboring with him. I only labored with him for about 7 hours, but when my contractions picked up and that epidural had failed, I was in the most, like, the worst pain of my life.
Yeah.
And I was so upset because I wasn't going to get the positive outcome that pain makes it worth like going through. So that was horrible.
Yeah.
Like,
it's adding insult to injury. I'm like, it is so not fair.
It was awful, and it was excruciating. And my nurse, she was trying to do counter pressure, and she just kept saying, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I'm like, what do you mean you're sorry? Do something, please, to help me. But there's really nothing that they can do. Yeah. And I believe the anesthesiologist had possibly gone into a surgery, so he was unavailable to come and reset it or to like add pain medication to it.
Yeah.
I got to the point where I was just laying there, either ready for them to like sedate me so I didn't have to feel it anymore, because I'm like we're not trying to protect a baby here, or for me to just pass. I was like, this is terrible. Like, how am I doing this right now? Like, I don't want to do this. It's so painful. Like, I don't want to be here. And I also, too, in my head said to myself, like, I'm never doing this again. I'm never having any more kids. Like, I can't go through this again. And then finally, the anesthesiologist was able to come back in. He pushed something through my epidural that ended up taking the pain away. I finally got some comfort. So I got placed on my side, and my nurse was about to go place my catheter because we hadn't even gotten to that point yet, because I was in so much pain. And she went to go place it, and when she was about to start, she could see Maddox's water bag.
Oh.
Yeah. So she was like, okay, we're going to stop. You're about to have your baby. So she called my doctor in, and my doctor, like, again, she is amazing because she came in on her day off to deliver him.
She did.
Yeah. And so she came in, and I just essentially just bared down once, and he was out. He was born in his water sac, still intact. Yeah. So she delivered him. She broke his water bag, cleaned him up a little bit, and then she gave him to me. And I obviously didn't know what to expect because I knew he was going to be tiny, but he was so perfect. Like, I know every mom, whether it's a lost mom or if you've had a live birth, like, you think your baby's perfect. But for a baby to be that small, he was tiny but fully formed. Yeah. Like, all of his features were there. And all my kids have the exact same nose.
Oh, really?
The exact same. They have this little like ski slope nose that is just the cutest thing ever. And he looked identical to my oldest. And it was just so special. And I just quietly cried. The room was so quiet. The loudest sound, but it's quiet, is just everyone was, it was just, I don't even know how to explain it unless you have experienced it. But he just looked like he was asleep.
Yeah.
And that, I think, helps with a little bit to bring comfort, to know that there wasn't a struggle, or at least you hope not. But he had his little arms crossed over his chest, and my doctor was like, that's exactly, how he came out, with like as if he was giving himself like a little hug. But yeah, he was just so perfect. And so we had all the time in the world with him that we wanted. They took him and they cleaned him up. They dressed him. They did footprints. They weighed him and measured him.
And how much did he weigh, and how long was he?
He was 12.1 inches, I believe, and he was 1 point something, 1 pound and I think 12 ounces or something like that. Yeah.
Because he was only 24.
Just about 24 weeks.
About 24
yeah.
weeks.
So he was tiny. He was so tiny.
Yeah.
My husband's aunt, she had her daughter, she wasn't stillborn, but her daughter was born around 20 weeks as well.
Oh.
I believe due to like an incompetent cervix.
Okay.
And so had been through this pain before, and she actually was a part of either the Share Parents of Utah or Utah Share Parents.
Okay. Yes.
That group that helps with like grieving lost parents. And she was there. She was in the waiting room at the hospital, and she just knew that like they change really quickly after they're born. And she's like, you're going to want pictures. And I was like, I know, but like, just not right now. And she was like, you're going to want them now. So she, right after he was born, came in and just took pictures for us.
Okay.
Tons of pictures. And I'm so grateful for that because like he really did change so fast, which I was not expecting because you don't know what to expect. But she was just like quietly in the corner. And just, you could tell that, you know, it was probably a lot of flashbacks for her. But I'm so grateful for her. So yeah, she was there and she took pictures. We told my dad that he could come, and my mother and father-in-law and my son, because we wanted to make sure that he got to meet him. Yeah. We went about it the exact same way that we wanted to go about it had Maddox been born when he was supposed to be. Yeah. So we brought him back first, my oldest, and he was just about to be 3, and it was going to be his first sibling, so he had never experienced, meeting a sibling on how you're supposed to meet them. And he, like, we were very, like, in an age-appropriate way, very, we explained to him what had happened. Yeah. And that his heart had stopped beating, and he's still to this day, he's 4 now. He's like, he calls it beeping. He'll ask me, why did Maddox's heart stop beeping? And he's so sweet. But, yeah, we didn't sugarcoat it with him. We told him that he had passed away and his heart had stopped beating and that he had gone up into heaven. And at the time, my husband's maternal grandfather had passed away quite a few years ago. So we told him that, he's gone up to be with great grandpa, and, like he's watching over us, and like he's still a part of our family, like he's in our hearts. And so my husband brought him back, and he was just quiet. He crawled up into the bed with me, and he saw him and, didn't really say much or ask many questions, just, looked at him and was like, oh, it's baby Maddox. And then Maddox was over in like the warmer area. So my husband took him over there and just held him so that he could look at him over there as well. And then he, as a 3-year-old, or 2-year-old at the time, started going into like what he did that day, kind of moved on. And so like that kind of helped with our, our spirits a little bit and whatnot. And then he took Gray out, and then he went and got my dad. And you could just tell, like, I obviously had never, we had Gray during COVID, so we couldn't have anybody like at the hospital after he was born. But even had we had been able to, I'd always heard that the mom's parents usually show a lot more emotion towards like their child. Like they're excited about their grandbaby, but like their baby's sitting in a hospital bed and they want to make sure that she's okay. Yeah. And that's just exactly how my dad was when he got there. And at that point, I hadn't seen my parents in what would have been like 5 months. The last time I saw them was when we told them we were pregnant with him. So you could just tell that he was there for all of us, but he was so concerned about me. And my dad is another like man in my life that I never saw cry very often growing up. So to see him break down, and it was just so hard. And to have to see his grandson like that. My dad had 2 daughters, so he like, and a sister growing up. So like to have boys in the family, you could just tell that like it was so fun and cool for him. So that was so hard to watch and see, but I'm so grateful that he was able to be down here. And then my dad got to spend some time with him, and then we let my mother and father-in-law come in as well and see and hold Maddox. And again, just like everyone's so heartbroken,
Yes,
right? But they got to spend some time with him, and then we got transferred to a postpartum wing after that, and they had asked me if I wanted to go to a different unit so I wasn't around other moms where I would hear babies crying, and I said no, and that I wanted to go to the postpartum wing because I knew that the nurses in that wing would know how to care for me better, and potentially with like, you know, more empathy and whatnot. So they had just put us down in a room way down at the end of the hall away from everyone. But when they moved me, they transferred me just like they do when you have a live birth, where they put you in the wheelchair and they let you hold your baby and take you to your next room. And not all of that transition is private. And so there were a few people that like walked past that obviously had no idea what was going on, but you can tell by the size of the baby and our demeanor and everything that it wasn't a positive experience. And I wasn't embarrassed, but I was just like, please don't feel bad for me. Because like for me, like that doesn't help when people are like, oh, I'm so sorry, or I feel so bad for you. Like, I appreciate it, but it's so much deeper than that. And so that was hard just to have to do that. But we got moved into the postpartum wing, and they gave us a cuddle cot. But he probably got placed in it one time when I got up to use the bathroom.
I'm gonna hold him the entire time.
Exactly. It was exactly how it was. Is I just wanted to hold him the whole time because I knew that I eventually wasn't going to get to. And I was so tired. We went in at 5:30 in the morning to have him. I didn't sleep at all the night before. And by the time like we got transferred and moved, it was, you know, the evening. And I was so exhausted, but I did not want to close my eyes and fall asleep because I didn't want to waste like any time of like not being present with him. So we just hung out in there for a while. My dad helped us move our stuff into there, and then he eventually went back to my house. So it was just my husband and I, and we just spent time with him. We called our siblings. My husband is one of 6 kids, so my kids have lots of aunts and uncles. So we called my sister, and she got to see him and meet him. And then we called all of my husband's brothers and sisters so that they could see him and meet him and say whatever, you know, they wanted to say. And then my husband and I just took lots of pictures and held him. And then the nurses obviously, you know, have to come in and explain to you, you know, your milk's still going to come in, you know, you're still going to be postpartum, and here's all the like things to look out for being postpartum after having your child pass. And so, you know, they did all of that. Then they had one of the ladies from the Utah Share Parents come in to do his hand and feet molds,
which is so great,
which was so special. And she actually happened to be, they're all volunteers of people that have gone through this before. So when this lady had gone through her experience of losing one of her babies, my husband's aunt was actually the lady to come into her room when she was,
Really?
yeah, which was because we had told her that,
That
his
you-
aunt,
yeah.
she started this chapter or whatever up in this area. And she was like, oh, what was her name? And we told her name. And she was like, that's who was here for me when her baby had passed. And I was like, wow, like
Yeah.
just small world. And I'm so sorry that we're all connected this way. But she did his hand and feet molds. And that was, yeah, I'm just so glad we have those. And then she brought him back, and that's kind of when the nurses were like, it's really up to you now when you want us to call the funeral home and how you want to go about that. And that was so hard. That was probably for me the hardest part out of all of it, was having to be the one to decide when we were going to give him back.
Yeah.
So I finally just got to a point where I was so tired and I knew I needed to go to sleep. So we called our nurse in and told her that we were ready, even though we weren't. How can you ever be ready? So she called the funeral home, and they came once they got there and came into the room and, introduced themselves, and they're so respectful. And he was dressed, and he had like the tiniest little bear with him and a little hat on. And then the hospital gave us one of those like burp cloth size minky blankets.
Oh, yes.
So he was all wrapped up in that, and I just told them that the bear can go with him, and I just wanted his hat and the blanket back. Because we decided to have him cremated, because I couldn't bear the thought of having to bury one of my kids. So, yeah, they took him and handing him over, like,
It's the worst.
yeah, the like hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. And right after he was born and he was placed on my chest, I had told myself before, like, oh my gosh, I'm never doing this again. Like, I can't go through this pain. Like, and as soon as he was born, even in, our situation and him being gone, I was just like, I would do this a million times over to get to see you and hold you. But yeah, so we gave him to them, and they just told us, like, exactly, like, we're gonna take him back to the funeral home, and we had to set up a day and a time once we were out of the hospital and to go make arrangements and whatnot, and just told us that he was gonna be fine with them, and we could go see him if we wanted to. So we gave him to the funeral director, and then we left within, I want to say, like 20 minutes.
I know, I was going to say,
Yeah.
You want to get out of there so fast.
Yeah, I luckily didn't have to stay 24 hours. I was cleared.
Were you feeling okay?
Yeah.
Okay, everything
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, I didn't want to leave before he did.
Yeah.
I know some people choose to do it that way, and you definitely just have to do what your heart tells you and what feels right for you. So we got discharged, and I was just ready to be home with my oldest and take a shower. And I thought that I was not going to be able to sleep. I thought I would have the hardest time sleeping for who knows how long after. I had asked the nurse, I was like, is my doctor going to prescribe anything for sleep? And she said, no, that's kind of something you have to follow up on after with your doctor's office. So surprisingly, I slept just fine. I was so exhausted.
Yeah. Because you had been up for what? More than
over 24 hours at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we got home and my son was there, my dad was there, and we just kind of fell back into what our life was. Like that's just what felt normal to do. We had such a routine already. It was just the three of us for so long at that point that not bringing Maddox home with us like didn't change our day to day, because it's not like we had him and he had been here and like lived days with us and then passed. So we just fell back into a normal routine. My husband took a little bit of time off of work. My work, they had told me they would give me a week of paid maternity leave when I was pregnant, and after Maddox passed and I had him, they took my maternity leave away. Yeah. So I ended up taking vacation time. I took a week off after Maddox was born.
A week off?
Yeah, and went back to work.
What?
Yeah. They didn't handle that situation well at all. And I thought maybe they had misunderstood what my situation was, but there's no way to misunderstand this situation. So that was hard. That was infuriating. And I had a lot of people trying to help me out with that side of things. But at the same time, I was like, this isn't what I should be or want to be focusing my energy on right now. So for a while, I just kind of swept that under the rug and tried to grieve. But at the same time, for me, I felt like just moving. I don't want to say moving on, because you don't move on from this, but like just continuing on with what was our normal is what helped me a lot through this. And I mean, I knew that I had to still be a mom for my other child at home. And, you know, he is so used to a certain way that we needed to continue to be that way for him. And I knew that I didn't want him to ever feel like he wasn't worth anything.
Yeah, he wasn't as important as and so you keep up the.
We just you know, continued on. And so Maddox was born on a Wednesday, and my mom's passport ended up getting delivered, I think that either that Thursday or that Friday.
Really?
So she made it down. She was down here on the Friday.
Okay.
So her and my dad had stayed he was here for about a week. And then my mom, I think she was down here for about 3 weeks.
Oh, good.
Until she went back home. But we had a little ceremony gathering for Maddox just at our house with our really like close family and friends about a week and a half after he was born.
Okay.
So we just had all the people that, you know, are really important to us and mean everything to us, and that would have been big roles in Maddox's life over, and just hung out like just how we normally do. And we got 3 balloons, and my husband, myself, and then we helped our son like write a message on it, and then we released those up to him. But yeah, we just thought that that's what our family is like, is just these really casual social gatherings with people we love. And that's what we would have done, you know, had he had been born in July. So yeah, that's what we did for him afterwards. And then now, as like a year and so a bit has gone by, we talk about him all the time. My oldest, he blows him a kiss goodnight.
Oh.
Yeah, he talks about him. He tells everyone about him, that he has a baby brother. He's just up in the sky. Yeah, he has, for how little he was when it happened, he has handled it so well.
Yeah.
Like, so well. And like the amount that he remembers too is amazing. And I'm so glad that he does, because we never want to forget him.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was something that I was worried about when I became pregnant again with my daughter, was like, I don't want anybody to ever think that any baby will replace him, and that he doesn't mean anything anymore. Because like a common thing that people say after losing a pregnancy is like, oh, well, you can try again.
Yeah.
And yeah, but it's not the same baby.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that that baby didn't matter and that they're still not a part of our life. And so he's the best about making sure that everyone remembers that, you know, he is still a part of our family, and he's still so special, and he's still so important, and he needs to be talked about. And yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. I think that is so sweet.
It really is.
Yeah, my daughter, same thing. She talks about our son all the time. Like, that's my little brother.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
And it warms your heart so much to, like, even still now, like, especially recently, and they say like children are the closest to that, and just he'll look up and it's like it's like he's waving at him, and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm waving at baby Maddox. And I'm like, I really hope, you know, you can see him and talk to him. And he's done that on a handful of occasions, and it's heartbreaking, but it also is so heartwarming at the same time. And we have a little picture of Maddox on our TV stand. And yesterday he just went and grabbed it, and he's just looking at it with the biggest smile on his face. And I was like, oh, what's she doing? He's like, I'm just looking at baby Maddox. I'm just smiling at him. And he like gave the picture for him a big hug. And yeah,
kids are the best.
They are. They're so special.
Yeah, they really are. A couple things I wanted to ask about as well. So when Gray did meet Maddox, did he get to see him any other time besides that one time in the hospital?
Like on ultrasounds?
Yeah, or anything like that. So he did come to a bunch of those ultrasounds, right? Okay.
Yeah, he did. He came with me pretty much to all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he knows him. So
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's the best. And then when you were in the hospital, I know you guys did a number of things. I just want to make sure that we capture everything that you did. So you had handprints and footprints done. You had the molds done.
Yeah.
You got a ton of pictures, which was great. Personal ones, and then also from share parents or whoever was there.
Yeah.
And which is great. And they did did you guys get to dress him, or was it the nursing that did it?
The nurses did. I didn't want to, just because like his skin was already so delicate and fragile, and it was starting to lift up in some places.
Okay.
And my mom heart was like, I was like, I
need to protect him.
Yeah, I just want to protect him. And so they did it for us. My husband, it was a lot for everyone, but my husband at one point right after he was born, he didn't think he wanted to hold him. And it was his aunt that was like, no, you need to hold him, because I think she experienced something very similar with her husband when they went through this with their daughter. Yeah. And so he eventually did hold him, but yeah, we left that all up to the nurses as if like he had been born, because they usually take them and dry them off and wrap them up and then hand them back to you. So we wanted to try and keep it as normal as it would have been.
Good.
Yeah.
Because that is those are some hard things to decide when you aren't expecting to come across this situation that we're in. And so I was going to ask about so your mom didn't ever get to meet him then, technically. I just wasn't sure if she was able to go to the funeral home or anything when she got down there. Yeah. I just wasn't sure how that worked.
So we got home Wednesday night, and then my husband and I on Thursday afternoon went to the funeral home. Okay. And we chose not to see him again because I wanted my last memory image of him to be what he would look like in the hospital. Yes. And I knew that he would look so much different, even just being, a couple hours later. So that's when we set up all of the arrangements for him to be cremated. I told them, I was like, don't call me when you guys are about to start the process. Okay. I don't want to know. So they called my husband, and still to this day, I have no idea when they called him to let them know that they were about to start. And then, yeah, my mom got there the next day. So she never got to see him in person, which I think is really hard for her. It's obviously to see a child like that is really hard. We specifically decided not to allow our siblings to come to the hospital because one, we don't want you to have to see him like this, and selfishly we didn't want to share that time.
Share the time, exactly. You just want to spend
because we knew we had such little time with him, and my sister lives in Canada, so she wouldn't have been able to be down here, and then my husband has 5 others, so that's a lot of people to share that time with, and they're so delicate and fragile. Like passing him around to that many people is just not, to try and keep them as perfect as they can be. You don't want to be passing them around. But when my mom got down here, my husband's aunt was at our house, and we were just chatting, and my aunt was like, "Oh, you made it." And my mom, she was just like, "Yeah, I'm a little late though." And I was just like, "No, like you're here. There was nothing you could have done to have gotten here sooner." And I'm sure that that's so hard for her.
Yeah.
But she did make it. Like, it didn't matter when you got here. It's just you're here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then when Maddox was born, and as they were probably cleaning you up and everything, were they able to say anything that had that may have caused his death?
Not while I was in the hospital. So when we had found out his heart stopped beating in the doctor's office, we had decided that I would have all the testing done when I went in for my induction. So during like the laboring process, they took tons of vials to send off and try to figure out if they could see what the cause was. They sent my placenta off. And so in the moment when he was born, no, they couldn't find anything. His cord wasn't wrapped around his neck. There was no knots in it. As far as him, like, he was perfect. So they sent it off, and then we got the report back a little while later, and my doctor, she called me and she said, "This is so far above my pay grade. I'm going to have this sent off to like a specialist." And then that's how I got in contact with that other doctor that we know of, and they interpreted it, and they could not find a definitive cause of fetal demise, but there was evidence of remote hemorrhaging.
Oh.
Yeah. So we don't know for sure why. There was a few other super long medical terms in there that kind of came about to be like, that's probably not what happened, because all of my testing came back normal, like no infection, no autoimmune anything. We chose not to do an autopsy because I just didn't want his little body to have to be put through that. And we were also told that usually you don't get an answer when you do an autopsy. So as far as like Maddox, we don't 100% know if there was anything wrong with him, but through my umbilical cord and the placenta, there was no sign of infection. So most likely there was nothing, going on with him either. So the only thing that we've kind of wrapped our head around and have kind of came to terms and peace with is that I had a silent placental abruption, which makes the back pain all connect.
Kind of makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
So when that was all happening, that was most likely my placenta was detaching from my uterine wall, and they call it silent because I had no evidence of bleeding.
Yeah.
So all the blood was trapped in between my uterine wall and my placenta. And that's really all we know. And we also, they found that my placenta was in the 25th percentile for my gestation. So it was a little bit on the smaller side.
Oh, okay.
So that then makes me think back to when I was really sick a few months prior, if that played any part in it being as healthy as it could have been.
Right.
With what was going on with me. So Yeah, that's kind of where it got left. They did submit it to qualify for a study. It didn't end up qualifying, which is fine. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not going to bring him back.
Yeah.
So at that point, we had kind of just decided we need to just kind of close that part up of this chapter up, and just, nothing, as pregnancies moving forward, the chance of reoccurrence was like less than 1% is what they told me. So yeah, we just kind of left it there because we got to a point where like, yeah, it'd be great to know what happened so that for in the future, there's certain things that we could monitor and watch for. But also at the end of the day, it's not going to bring Maddox back.
Yeah. But there was nothing, obviously, it sounds like nothing genetically that would have caused you to have concern for future pregnancies and everything.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I'm glad that you got your placenta sent off. That is because you usually can see stuff. I mean, it's, when they do essentially an autopsy on those. So,
Right.
So yeah, I am so sorry. This
Thank you.
super stinks.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. When you're just missing somebody in your family, it feels like.
Yeah. I struggle with that still, is the feeling of our family will never feel complete.
Yeah.
No matter, how many more kids you go on to have.
Yep.
It just, there's always that one person is missing and no one will fill their spot. And that sucks because you want your family to feel complete and together.
Yeah.
And it's just, our reality isn't that. And nobody ever thinks that this is going to be their reality. So that's been really hard to struggle with, and it was really hard to navigate through being pregnant after loss.
Oh yes,
as well.
Yeah,
like
that. Yeah. People don't even realize how rough that is.
Yeah,
it's so
it's hard.
So rough.
It's so hard.
Yeah. Victoria, thank you so much for sharing Maddox with us. It was so sweet and tender, and so grateful that we got to get to know him better, and you and your family so much better. And I just think that he was a perfect little boy.
He was, yeah, for sure.
Is there any last things that you'd like to say about him or share about him?
No, I don't think so. I really appreciate you guys giving us a platform to be able to continue to talk about our babies and remember them, because it's the only way we get to bring them up. And it's hard. And we want to talk about them. Like, it doesn't, we're sad every day. So talking about them or asking us about them doesn't trigger anything that already hasn't been triggered.
Yeah.
Like, I love when people ask me about him and let me talk about him.
Yeah,
so
it is.
thank you.
Thank you so much, Victoria.